Hey, this is Avish Parashar from SpeakingExpert.com. And today I'm going to talk about where and how you can find some public speaking jobs and gigs. If you decided to go out and become a professional speaker or a paid public speaker, or whatever you want to call it, then you're probably very excited and you probably have some speaking skill and a topic you want to talk about. But what you're lacking is those gigs, those public speaking jobs. And for most people, this is the hardest thing to find. You may be brilliant at your topic, but how do you find those engagements? This is especially hard if you're newer in your career, you're not as established, you don't have a huge past contact base to refer you or a best-selling New York Times book. So where do you find them? Well, I'm going to share with you 3 ways and places in this video that you can immediately start looking and actually finding public speaking jobs. All right, the first place to find these gigs is within your own network. You have a lot of contacts, you have family, you have colleagues, you have past coworkers, you may even have clients and people in the audience if you've been doing some speaking. You want to reach out to that contact base and start mining them for engagements and leads. Now, of course, this sounds obvious, but if you try this, I'm guessing the reason it didn't work is, number one, you can't just send a blanket email that's like, hey, I'm launching a speaking business. Please let me know if you know anyone who's looking for a speaker. You'll be lucky if you get even one response to a blanket email like that. Number one, blanket emails always get much low response. People know it's a blanket, they'll start it maybe to come back to it later, but they'll never get around to it. Number two, it's too vague. You're saying, oh, if you know anyone looking for a speaker. Well, no one knows anyone looking for a speaker. That's a very general thing. You need to be very clear. You can't ask for help until you're clear on exactly who you want to meet. You might say it's vice president of sales and marketing. That's a good contact. Or directors of training at companies. Or people who are on the boards of associations. So be clear in who you're looking to meet. So be clear who you're looking to meet and don't do a blanket, which means you have to have direct conversations with people. Send individual emails. Make phone calls. Chat with people in person. When you do, tell them a little bit about your business and then explain to them, this is specifically who I want to meet. This type of person or in this industry. And then ask them if they know anyone, but then brainstorm with them a little bit. Give them more suggestions. Say, well, what about this? Or what about your work here? The more you can feed them, the easier it's going to be for them to think and come up with people to recommend to you. All right. Now, once you get those contacts from that person, then just do the same. You contact them. Maybe they're the person who does hire speakers. If not, you got to follow up with them and see if they can introduce you. So be respectful of that contact, reach out to them, and then let your original contact know that, hey, I contacted them, here was the result, and thank you very much. You'll be surprised how, if you're willing to go beyond just the blanket email with the generic, anyone looking for speaking gigs, how many leads you can start developing that way. The more focused you are, the easier it'll be. The second way to find public speaking jobs is to look and see where your competitors are speaking at. No matter how unique you are, there's people out there speaking on a similar topic. Maybe not the exact same thing, but there are people doing the same result, same basic industries, things like that. Figure out who your competitors are. There are 2 ways of doing this. Number one, go to the National Speakers Association's website, which is nsaspeaker.org, and just do a search on your topic and see who else is speaking on that topic. Second way is Google. Type the word in speaker and your topic, a few other keywords, see who comes up. You want to try to get a sense of how successful they are and see if you can find people who are around the same level as you. Because if you're just starting out, you don't necessarily want to look for the clients of a $15,000 speaker. But once you figure out who the speaker is, find out where they've been speaking at, and then contact those associations or organizations about having you speak there. The reason this can work is, number one, this organization has already shown that they're interested in that topic. And number two, if you're talking about speaking gigs and not necessarily consulting or training, organizations don't like to bring the speaker in over and over and over again because their people want variety. So this organization likes the topic and they're going to need somebody else. So how do you find where these people have been speaking at? 2 ways. Number one, go back to Google, type that speaker's name into Google along with something like conference or meeting or association. See what comes up, see where they've presented at. Number two, go to that speaker's website. Sometimes on their website they list places they've spoken at. So you can just look that way. I don't feel this is stealing because A, they're posting information, and B, like I said, most of these groups won't necessarily want the person back the following year anyways. So you're just filling a need. So that is a great way to find public speaking jobs, by looking at where your competitors are speaking. All right, the third way to find public speaking jobs is to go where your target market is. Once you've identified your niche, your industry, which you really should do, because if you're struggling to find public speaking jobs, that may be a big reason why. You haven't picked a good focused industry that you can enter and get known in and dominate. So once you pick that niche, find associations of that niche. There's an association out there for everything. Trust me. Just do a Google search for your industry, whether it's accounting, healthcare, nursing, whatever, HVAC contractors, whatever it is, and then the word association. You'll get results. Find ones that are relatively local to your area. I mean, if you're in a big city, there'll probably be one or more than one that meet right in your town. If not, you may have to drive a little bit. But find what these associations are and then go to them, because these are meetings of people who are your target market, 100%. Now, the key is you don't just walk into that meeting and say, oh, hey, I'm looking for speaking gigs. Do you know anyone? No. No, if it's a contact, someone you know, sure, you can ask that question. If it's someone you're just meeting for the first time, you don't want to be branded as that creepy guy who is just constantly looking for gigs. No. You want to build relationships, get to know people. Just say, hey, I'm a speaker, I speak this industry, and I just want to learn more about it. Start asking questions about the industry, start getting to know people, and build relationships. Now, this is not going to be a quick short-term strategy because, like I said, you're not going to be able to ask right away. But when you go to multiple meetings, you get to know people. Two things will happen. Number one, some of those contacts you get to know will be from companies that will be looking for speakers. If you keep going to meetings and building relationships, when they need a speaker, they'll ask you. Number two, these associations need regular speakers for their meetings. If you build a reputation of being someone who knows what they're doing, contributes and supports the organization, then they'll have you speak eventually. Now, again, you can gently offer, but don't push too hard on these things, because that's how you get branded as someone who's like, oh man, this guy's just trying to sell us. But by going to meetings of your target market, you make contacts in the association, plus you position yourself to speak at that chapter. Once you speak at the chapter, you can get recommendations to speak at state meetings and national conferences, and that's where you start getting paid, and that's where you start making lots and lots of contacts and notoriety. So there you have it. Those are 3 ways you can start finding public speaking jobs right away. Go to your go to your current network, look at your competitors, and find associations. Do those 3 things, and in a very short period of time, you'll already have found public speaking jobs that you can take advantage of and start speaking at. For more great information, be sure to visit www.speakingexpert.com.